Hi, this is Ed with Ed's 2 cents worth. I told you I'd bring you up to date as I made progress on this small loader. This is the loader that is powered by drill motors, and this is the second installment on this video. So let me just show you some of the things that I've done. I'm going to grab the camera, we'll move around a little bit. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll start at the rear and work forward. So keep in mind, this is still not a finished product. I still have some things to do, but I wanted to update you to help you to see what's going on. Now, I took the factory battery out. It wasn't any good to begin with, and I'm using this space in here for electrical. I added a platform here so that I could mount a larger battery back here, and this serves also as ballast. It puts a little more weight on the rear, which will help as far as the front axle and lifting. This is a little space. I've got a small box that'll go here that's going to be a small toolbox kind of thing. Put a couple wrenches in it and screwdrivers and stuff like that. So anyway, you can see the power comes up and in. I'm going to put an on-off switch somewhere in this line here, because this box here is always on if I don't. So, and this is the transformer box, which changes from 12 volts DC to actually 24 volts DC. I was going to use one that is 19 volts, but I kind of like this 24 volt one a little bit better, and it works fine with the drill motors. These here, these are not fuses. These are circuit breakers. They will auto reset. So if I put too much of a load on the motors, drawing too much current, these will shut that current off, and when it settles down, cools off a little bit, they'll turn back on automatically. There's nothing I have to do. And these, for this setup right now, I've got 20 amp circuit breakers. I may change that a little bit as I go along. And of course the negative side coming in, right? This is tied in with the factory wiring on the tractor, so that the starter and the engine and all that will work off of this battery. Now, as far as the loader is concerned, you can see these wires come up and supply in this conduit, and they come up and they feed these switches. Okay, now on this side of the switches, in this slightly smaller conduit, it comes down, it goes out to the front into the motors. Okay, and you'll see that better in a minute. But these switches are weatherproof switches, and I'm going to build a kind of a little box here to house this and protect it and all, but you can see how it is right now. These here are just a couple of spare leads. I don't have a use for them right now, but they're there in case I wanted power up in this area to add something more to this. And you can see this bracket is just a simple bracket that is mounted to the side here that holds these switches. And this is very comfortable positioning, because when I'm sitting on the tractor, you can see my knee. Normally this knee would be over, but anyway, I can rest my arm on my knee as I'm sitting there, and I can control these switches really easy. So let's move forward. Now you can see the hood. I've altered the hood because I needed this space in here open. The hood, the way it was, would have interfered. So I've cut this down and altered this so that I've got the space that I need. It also lifts off completely rather than hinges from the factory. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and pull this off. Let me pause here. Okay, so the hood is removed. Okay, and you can see this here lifts off. All this does is give some support left to right so that the hood sits in the proper place. But in any case, you can see this tower here and the mountings, and you see I cut where the battery sits on this, I cut that off. There's no wiring or anything in here. The wiring comes up and goes through the front where the switch used to be and comes straight up and goes into the back of the motor. That way I control this off of the switches up there, and the same with this. Both of these are 20 volt, and I'm supplying 24 volts to them, and it seems to be working just fine. I can drop it down to 19 volts if I need to, but I like the 24 volts. And you can see how these are mounted. This is the main mount here through the handle. Now these are filled, this is filled with silicone so that when I squeeze this, it wouldn't compress too far and break the plastic handle. Okay, there's absolutely nothing in there, so it's filled with silicone from here all the way up to here. The same with this. It's filled with silicone from here all the way up to here, so that when I compress that, it won't break the handle. And of course this clamp here holds this in place. It doesn't really have to be there, but I've got it there as an extra. And you can see that that is very solid. Now this motor here goes down and it controls the winch. Okay, the up and down movement. This motor controls the tilt of the bucket. And you can see how I've got this coming out. And you can see this scissor mechanism here. I'll demonstrate that a little bit to you. But something that's important is that here, this bracket is real important in the way it's designed. It's built so that this mechanism can't pull this shaft out of the motor. Okay, it'll go just so far and it'll stop. Now I did that because I didn't want to put stress on that chuck. All I want the chuck to do is to rotate, right? I don't want it to have to resist the pulling of this shaft. So this is built in such a way as it protects that. Okay? This is a pivot point. This will actually rock back and forth like this. Let me show you this coupling here. This coupling is what they refer to as an L-class coupling, L075 coupling. You can buy these. They have a rubber grommet in here, and the two halves fit, and that rubber grommet kind of insulates rather than having a harsh connection, it's got some flexibility in there where it can smooth it out a little bit. In any case, those are available on Amazon. You can get them in different size holes, and you can get them from different brands. For example, you can, if you need a size in millimeters, you can buy one brand. If you need a size that's in standard SAE measurements, you can buy another brand, and they're built to where, regardless of the brand, you can put them together. Okay, so you can have one side, one size, and another side, a different size, even metric to standard. It doesn't matter. So these are an excellent coupling choice. Alright, I guess you're anxious to see. So I'm going to go back here to my switches. And I've got my switch. Right? And I'll go ahead and dump. Now you notice that the height of the bucket, it's not grand, but this is intended to be a residential loader. It is intended to move some mulch or loose dirt or loose gravel or whatever, maybe to maintain a driveway a little bit, to do basic work around a home where you'd prefer not to have to carry everything. And this will be a big help that way. So I hope I've covered a lot for you where you're able to see things. Let me just walk around and give you some close-ups of everything. Now this is not intended to be a how-to video. This is intended to inspire. So you may want to build and do something different.